Hello, team players! So, about a week ago, I covered the field test for the Mystic. But one thing I didn't cover is all the new spells we got in that field test. So let's just get right into this. I'm going to start with a cantrip called Analyze Target. With this spell, you can target one creature within 30 feet. You or anyone you advise gain a +1 circumstance bonus to impersonate that creature, to treat their wounds, and to recall knowledge checks to find out about the creature's unarmed attacks, or more importantly, their special abilities. Which, if Starfinder monsters are anything like Pathfinder 2e monsters, that last effect is amazing. Because every monster in Pathfinder 2e has some sort of special ability or something else that makes them unique. And the best part is, this spell is available to all casters. So it doesn't matter what kind of spellcaster you are, you have access to this spell. Hiding the spell increases the bonus and allows you to target more creatures. And even allows you to target any number of creatures when you can cast 6th level spells. We don't know much about Starfinder 2e yet, so I'm not sure how good Delete is going to be. With this spell that's available to Arcane and Occult casters, you can target one data set or one tech item with the tracking traits. You remove up to 1,500 words of text from that item. Non-magical writing is automatically deleted even if it's being held by another creature. However, non-magical writing and digital content require a counteract check. If you fail to delete writing that's part of a hazard, you trigger that hazard. If you target an attended tech item with the tracking trait, you must make a counteract check in order to delete the writing. On a success, the item becomes glitching 1. Honestly, I have no idea what that means, but I'm guessing it's not very good for the item's wielder. But the creature holding the item can use a single action with the interact trait to restart the software, reducing the glitching value by 1. Hiding this spell allows you to be more specific on what you actually delete. Like I said, when it comes to this spell, we really don't have enough information to know whether this is good or not. As more Starfinder 2e content comes out, we'll have to see. With the Arcane and Primal spell Discharge, you target one creature or object with the tech trait within 30 feet. If the target is a creature with the tech trait, it makes a basic will save. If it fails, it becomes glitching 1. On a critical failure, it becomes glitching 2. If the target is an intended object, the creature holding it makes the will save. On a failure, the object loses half its charges. On a critical failure, it loses all its charges. If you target an unintended object, it automatically loses all its charges. This one seems situational, but it depends on how good glitching 1 or 2 is, and how often you're running into creatures with the tech traits. And I do think you're probably going to use this on creatures with the tech trait more often than you're going to use it on items. Next up is Doom Scroll. This spell is available to Arcane, Divine, and Occult casters. You target a 15-foot burst within 60 feet. Creatures in that area must make a will saving throw. Creatures that succeed on their saving throw become fascinated for up to 1 minute as long as you sustain the spell. However, if they fail on their saving throw, they are fascinated, but they're also frightened too, even if the fascination ends. On a critical failure, they're frightened 3, and they're also doomed 1, even if the fascination ends. This one is actually fantastic. I mean, normally fascination is not a good effect. But the fact that on a failure or critical failure they become frightened, which is one of the best conditions in Pathfinder 2e, and they're frightened even if the fascination ends, is fantastic. This spell is also one of the few ways that a player can get the Doom condition on an enemy. Although, honestly, in most situations, Doomed isn't that great. But yeah, Frightened is absolutely amazing, especially when you can get Frightened 3 on a critical failure. Alright, let's move on to Gravity Tether. This spell that's available to all casters allows you to target one creature within 30 feet with a spell attack roll. On a success, the target takes 4d8 electricity damage and is pulled 5 feet towards you. On a critical success, it's pulled 10 feet towards you. However, if you try to move the target into a barrier or a creature or other obstacle, the target stops before entering that space. But what really makes this spell good is the heightened effects. Heightening the spell by 1 level increases the damage by 1d8, but more importantly, you can target 1 additional creature, and you can push those creatures towards each other or towards yourself. This is a fantastic way of getting a bunch of enemies in one area so that, I don't know, how about the druid casts a fireball on them? Motivating Ringtone is available to Occult and Primal casters. In order to cast this spell, you must have a comm unit, and you must have the contact information for another comm unit. This spell heals the owner of the second comm unit for 1d10 plus 4 hit points. In addition, for the next minute, as long as the ringtone plays, that owner gains a plus 5 status bonus to all their speeds and a plus 1 on saves against fear. Heightening this spell increases the healing by 1d10 plus 4. Healing a target and increasing their speed is already amazing. And giving the owner of the second comm unit a bonus on saves against fear, which is one of the most debilitating conditions you can be under, is fantastic as well. Assuming, of course, that fear works the same as it does in Pathfinder 2e. Next, we've got to cover a couple more cantrips that we got in this field test. For starters, let's talk about Recharge Weapon. This Arcane or Occult spell can only be used on a weapon that has capacity. The target gains ammunition or charges equal to its usage for 1 round, allowing anyone holding the target to make 1 strike with that weapon. However, this spell only recharges ammunition with a value of 10 credits or less. This is a great spell to have if somebody runs out of ammunition, but otherwise not that great of a spell, to be honest. With the Divine and Primal cantrip Reorient, we can remove the off-guard condition if the target has it. In addition, the target becomes immune to the off-guard condition even if it would be circumstantially applied, such as the target being flanked or knocked prone. However, once you use this spell on someone, they're immune for 10 minutes. They are immune to the off-guard condition until the start of their next turn. Off-guard is such a common debuff that this spell is flat out amazing. Just remove a -2 to AC and make them immune to it until the start of their next turn. Amazing. The first level Sonic Scream is simple, but pretty powerful. This spell targets all creatures in a 15-foot cone and requires a basic fortitude saving throw. You deal 1d8 sonic damage to all creatures in the area. In addition, any of those creatures that fail their saving throw also become sickened 1. Hiding the spell increases the damage by 1d8. This spell does pretty good damage, and the fact that they become sickened even on a regular failure is amazing. Most spells like this require the target to critically fail their saving throw to get an extra condition. And Sickened is, in my opinion, the best debuff in this entire system. So this is one to definitely pick up. Alright, we got 2 more spells in this field test, and the first is Soul Search. This Divine and Primal spell is clearly meant for parties with a Mystic in the party. You can make a ranged spell attack roll against 1 creature within 30 feet. If you hit, you'll deal 66 spirit damage. On a critical hit, the target takes double damage and becomes drained 1. But casting this spell costs you 6 hit points, or if you're in a bond in a vitality network that has at least 6 points, you can reduce that vitality network by 6. Heightening this spell increases its damage and the hit points lost. Honestly, overall, this is just a damaging spell. Although the Drained is nice, because that does lower their hit points even more and lower their fortitude saves. But you have to critically hit to get that, so this spell I don't think is really worth it, especially with that cost. And the last spell that we got in the field test was Wisp Ally. With this divine and primal spell, you create a wisp that doesn't have any attributes a creature would, such as taking up space or granting flanking. However, it does generate light with a 10-foot radius. But more importantly, you can move the wisp closer to a target, and the wisp will attempt to distract that target. The target must make a will saving throw. Each creature that fails their saving throw becomes off guard until the end of their next turn. If the target fails a will save against a second wisp in the same round, they become dazzled until the end of their next turn instead. Every time you heighten the spell by 1 level, you can increase the number of wisps you create by 1. Also, when you sustain this spell, you can move all wisps that you've created. Honestly, I feel like the off guard from 1 wisp is going to be better about 80% of the time. I don't think you're really going to need to do 2 wisps to make them dazzled, because all that does is put a flat check on their attack rolls, which most of the time off guard is going to be better. And that's all the spells we got in the field tests. I have to say, some of these spells are pretty meh. Some of them I'm reserving judgment on, especially the ones that give the glitching condition, because we have no idea what that does yet. But maybe you Starfinder 1E players can tell me what glitching does in 1E so we have some idea, if glitching exists in Starfinder 1E. But some of these spells are really good, especially that Doom Scroll spell and the Sonic Scream, because those give 2 of the best conditions in the game. For you, anyway. Bad for them. But we'll have to see how conditions work in Starfinder 2E to really know how some of these spells work. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, and don't forget to check out the Patreon page and the other links in the description below. If you want my Mystic field test video, you can check it out right here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, teamwork is vital.